Pretty sure it just blew up.
Really?
Yeah.
Today, we're talking about my 125 two-stroke Supermoto. That was once a beautiful show bike, but now it's just a bunch of parts on the ground and an engine on a desk. And I know what you're probably thinking. How does this happen? Well, that's why I'm here today, to tell you the story of how my beautiful, brand new two-stroke Supermoto blew up.
I think I just blew it up, dude. Oh, no.
Okay. This is not a video I wanted to be making so soon, but alas, here we are. This bike behind me right here is my 2004 Suzuki RM125 Supermoto. I completely built this bike about a year ago. I disassembled everything, tore it down to the frame, and built it back from the ground up, basically, and it turned out absolutely beautiful. This bike is one of the sickest Supermotos I've ever seen, but this is a sad video. This is not a good video, okay? After building this bike, I rode it maybe 3 or 4 times before it blew up. This engine had 16 hours on it, and that's like brand new, and it died. It blew up.
Oh, no.
I'll get into it. There's definitely some reasons why that was the case. It's a brand new, beautiful bike, and the engine may not have been the strongest component on the build. That is the reason why we're making this video. We're gonna analyze what went wrong here. But in order to do so, we might as well start at square one. Back about a month ago, when I was taking this bike to the track. Today we have something very special in store. We are going to the track to ride Supermotos. As you can see, we got the RM125 loaded up in the back. Today it's gonna be my second day at the track. So the goal is gonna be just improve as much as I can, get some seat time in, and hopefully see if I can get a little bit better at taking these twisty turns at speed. And before I knew it, I was at the track staring death in the face in the form of a dude in a leather suit on a mini bike going about 60 miles an hour down a concrete straightaway. But it was my time to shine. I was either gonna ride good or make a fool of myself. And unfortunately, I think I made it pretty obvious which one I chose.
I got the most wild set of riding gear of all time. It's all hand-me-downs. Zipper, completely broken. I got a belt like on the outside trying to keep them up, but the belt keeps slipping off. And your boy's got the crop top freaking leathers, dude. These are like woman-sized small leathers. It's so freaking intimidating. Being around a bunch of guys that know what the heck they're doing on a track like this, and then you just look at me, I got no clue what's going on. The skill gap is so big, like they're flying past you and you just gotta trust that like they know what they're doing and you don't wanna move your line, you just wanna stay where you're at. She started up easy.
I was definitely nervous and may have been trembling in my boots, but it was time to hit the track.
All right. Gotta let this thing warm up too, for sure.
Nice.
Really quick, before this bike blows up and absolutely ruins my day, a little foreshadowing there, I wanted to introduce you guys to Simply Carbon Fiber because they were nice enough to sponsor this video and help me financially recover from some of the damage back there. Simply Carbon Fiber is a company that offers exactly what it sounds like. Products made of carbon fiber. They have everything from wallets, jewelry, sunglasses, watches, and even phone cases. I've personally been running this Blue Flake forged carbon fiber case for about a month now, and I actually really like this thing. This case is built sturdy, it feels good in the hand, it works with all my wireless chargers and MagSafe accessories, and it also just looks sick. I mean, it just looks sick. Unfortunately, I personally don't have carbon fiber dripped all over my bikes like every 16-year-old from Europe with a $20,000 KTM 125, but this case helps me feel like I'm part of the club. If you're interested, you can check them out at simplycarbonfiber.com/2strokeJ and use the code TST10 for 10% off your order. The link is in the description. Now let's get back to the video.
It's a pretty smooth track. Gotta definitely get back in the groove. Not gonna follow those guys.
Now, I mentioned earlier in this video that this engine most likely was the weakest point of this entire build. And the reason for that was simply money. okay? When you're building a bike like this, it is not cheap. Just the brake setup alone on the front half of this bike is breaking $1,000. So you wanna make them sick, but the bills pile up fast, brother, fast. You kind of have to make some decisions on what to do, what not to do, what dream parts to leave out, and what dream parts to buy. My thought process on this bike was that I was gonna get the Supermoto wheels, everything I needed to make it Supermoto trim, like a real Supermoto, and I was gonna kind of refresh the engine as much as I could with the leftover money. I knew that this engine, it could have used more, but that didn't stop me from pushing myself and this bike to the absolute limit.
Oh man, this freaking bike hauls, dude. In the power band, it's crazy. Definitely struggles out of the power band though. The second you're out of it, it takes too long to get up into the power. You really gotta stay on top of shifting gears and staying in it.
This thing, I've had this specific RM125, I don't even know, 5 or 6 years. I would have to go back and see when I got it. I've never actually had the cylinder or anything other than the piston refreshed. So this cylinder is probably going on unlimited amounts of hours. Bottom end has been untouched. Like I said, it's only been clutches and pistons that I've slapped in this thing. And for this build, I kind of ran out of money. I basically cleaned everything off as much as I could. I put a new piston in it and I slapped the motor back in and called it good. I knew it wasn't really put together as good as it could. So I went onto track with that in the back of my head and just hoped for the best.
I feel like I'm definitely getting the feeling though of leaning off over the seat, getting your weight out over the bike on the outside. I can see how it helps. I keep thinking I have an extra gear too. I don't. People are gonna yell at me for engine braking, I know. What's new? She's getting her work in though. Woo! Oh, okay, guy. Okay, guy. I get it. Oh! Oh, she's ripping though. So are these guys, oh my god.
And as the day went on, I got more and more comfortable on the bike and was really trying to keep it in the power band, pushing it as hard as I could. And I think it's safe to say I may have pushed a little too hard.
I think I just blew it up, dude. Oh no. It just blew up. I hope I put 2-stroke gas in it. Pretty sure it just blew up.
Really?
Yeah, it was ripping though. Just on the straight right there, just kind of seized really quick.
Did it kill itself?
Yeah, it didn't lock up the rear or anything, but maybe because I pulled the clutch in, but I think so. Either that or something fouled or...
And that was all she wrote. The RM125 blew up. Who would have thought? 16 hours on the engine and it just completely blew up. Luckily it happened right at the pit lane of the track, so I was able to just clutch in and pull off. Luckily didn't get smacked in the straightaway by anybody. Pulled off the track, laid it up against the fence, kind of in shock. I didn't really know, well, I knew it blew up, it was kind of obvious, but I didn't know what had happened. And it was confusing because the engine didn't fully lock up. The piston could still turn. I was actually still able to start the bike, but when you did start it, it makes like a horrible clanking noise, like something was definitely hitting the piston, which is not good. I drove about an hour and a half out to go ride at the track, and on the 14th lap with this bike, 16 hours on the engine, grenade. So when I got back from the track, it was time to face my fears, tear into this bike, and figure out what exactly went wrong.
Nice. I'm gonna go ahead and start it up really quick, just so you can hear the weird sound that it's making. Ooh, do you hear that? Something is hitting. Does not sound good. Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't want to do that again. That sounds so bad.
I'm not exactly sure how well the metallic clanking sound from the engine came up over the camera, but there's definitely some metal on metal weird noise coming from this motor when it starts, and I need to figure out what that is. So I'm starting by taking off all the plastics and just getting better access to this bike. And from here, I can take off the gas tank and drain all the gas.
It's a little bit messy, huh? It's definitely two-stroke gas though. You can tell it's kind of got like a red tint to it, so that's good. That means I didn't mess up that bad and put like normal gas in it.
With the tank off, I now have plenty of room to remove the exhaust. And next on the list is getting the radiators out of the way. So to do that, I'm gonna drain the coolant.
I'm just being so messy right now. Nice. This is gonna be interesting here. Is this spark plug super rich, super lean? If it's super lean, we probably know why it blew up. Yeah, it looks pretty lean if you ask me. It's not really like dark brown, it's pretty white, which means it probably got too hot and that's why it blew up.
Wrong.
During the teardown process, I was coming up with theories left and right on why this bike blew up. It was too lean, I put the wrong gas in it, etc, etc. But in this case, it wasn't obvious. Sometimes when a bike blows up, the crank will punch through the block or something, and it's clearly the crank's fault. But in this case, I couldn't tell if there was a hole in the piston, if the power valve fell into the cylinder, or if the bottom end shredded itself to pieces. I really didn't know. So all I could do was keep on digging deeper.
Oh, man.
With the coolant drained, I could remove the radiators and get them out of the way to make removing the engine easier. And since the rear mount of the engine is actually the swing arm bolt, I have to start removing the chain and stuff on the rear end so I can take the swing arm completely off, as well as a lot of the small components attached to the engine like the shifter and the kickstarter. Another thing I highly suggest you do when removing an engine is actually loosen the top end bolts while it's still connected to the frame. That way when the engine's out of the bike flopping around, they're already loose and easy to take off. Next, I'm going to take off some of the engine mounts and get everything loosened up. Now it's time to actually take the swing arm off. I know I did things way out of order than I typically would. I was trying to get this engine out by removing the least amount of things possible, but in the end, I had to take off the entire subframe, the shock, and the swing arm, so everything had to come off eventually. With the swing arm off, I was left with a frame and an engine attached to it. So I think you know where this is going. I gotta detach the engine from the frame. Even though this is a 125, it always surprises me how heavy these engines are, and it's actually pretty difficult to remove on your own, but once you get it out, put it on a stand, and you're good to go. All right, boys and girls, it is time to finally break into the engine and see what the heck went wrong with this thing. I hope it's not too bad. I hope it's salvageable, but we're about to find out.
Looking into the exhaust here, I don't see anything like crazy wrong. I mean, the piston definitely has some markings on it, but I see the ring is intact. Everything looks normal. The power valves aren't like hanging down, I don't think. Interesting.
So this is the moment of truth. It was time to finally take the top end off and figure out exactly what happened.
Some sort of metal in there for sure. Definitely scored up, but there's no like loose shavings anywhere. Wonder if we lost a circlip or something. I think that was it, boys. All right. I thought this thing was gonna be destroyed, but actually the cylinder looks, it's a little scored, but not bad. Like it could have been a lot worse considering the whole engine like locked up and shut off like it did. Guys, upon further consideration, I think nothing seems to be that wrong with the piston. I mean, the ring is still free. Everything seems like it's fine, but look how much play the crank has. I know it's supposed to have some, but it's not supposed to have side-to-side play.
I had to pause it here because there actually is supposed to be a little bit of side-to-side play, but up and down play is bad news. And in this case, we had a lot of it.
Come on, man.
Just in the crank alone, that's a lot of play. So I think a bearing or something in the crankshaft probably exploded somewhat, and that's what got into the top end, making the noise.
And honestly, I'm shocked by this result. I would have never thought the bottom end would have been the problem. The bottom end has been untouched. Okay, I take that back.
Look, that's the only thing I didn't touch when I built this engine, and I was really scared it was something that I did wrong, but instead it was just my negligence of not building the bottom end that caused this thing's demise. It wasn't my fault, okay? Okay. It was my fault, but it wasn't my fault, if you know what I'm saying. So, we're definitely gonna have to tear this thing all the way down, do a full rebuild.
Yep, you heard it here first. Full engine rebuild. It's time to pull up my wallet because we're going big. I'm talking top of the line parts. I'm talking a cylinder machined by one of the greatest all-time two-stroke engine builders. 125 cc's? I'm talking 144 cc's. That's right, we're going big bore. All I can tell you is you're really gonna wanna stick around for the next video on this bike because it's gonna be sick. So click that subscribe button and get out of here.